Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of big news to brief you all on today. Today's date is August 20th, 2025, and it's Wednesday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. We have so much big news to get into with this update today. We're going to start out with a massive story out of NATO territory in Poland, as we have reports today that a Russian drone may have crashed inside of Poland. We're still waiting to find out and get further confirmation that it actually was a Russian drone, but Poland's foreign ministry today was stating that it was a Russian drone, but mainstream news not completely picking this up just yet and stating that it actually was a drone coming from Russia. Right now, they're still stating that it was an unidentified drone. So take a look at this report here on your screen. Military drone crashes in Poland after late night attack on Ukraine. An object that hit and scorched a cornfield in eastern Poland was a military drone, according to the preliminary findings of an investigation, a Polish prosecutor said on Wednesday. So, this is allegedly a photo of this field that was burned and scorched after this drone had crashed. It apparently did have some explosives on it because we got video today, confirmation of somebody's camera outside their door showing this explosion. So it definitely had some sort of explosives on board with this drone, and that allegedly could be the engine that was attached to this drone as it crashed. So it most likely was a Russian Shahed drone. That's what I'm assuming that it is right now. But again, we're still waiting for like complete confirmation on this story. But very big news today is the first time that we've heard a drone crashing inside of Poland. We've seen drone incursions into Romania. We've seen this in Latvia, Lithuania just recently as well, some of the Baltic nations. Now we're seeing Poland getting hit by these drones as well. So when is NATO going to step up and start responding to these? Let's see what they decide to do after we get confirmation for sure that it was a Russian drone. So let's go ahead and jump on over here to X. I've got so much to share with you guys. Let's start off here with the Kiev Post. A drone crashed and exploded in Poland, about 120 kilometers from Ukraine. Polish officials say it may have been a Russian drone that entered Polish airspace. Not sure how to pronounce the name of this outlet here, but I think it's like Chef Pospolita. I could be pronouncing that wrong. Sorry, guys. Reports it was likely an Iranian-made Shahed, the same type Russia uses to strike Ukrainian cities. So this is video footage. It's only about 8 seconds, but it is going to be very loud, just letting you know. Get your ears ready in case you got headphones on. About 4 seconds in, massive explosion here. Take a look at this. Okay, so as we can see, a huge explosion takes place as this drone crashes, allegedly into an open cornfield, is what is being reported today. But you can see that flash of light there on this building as this drone explodes. So it definitely had some sort of explosives on board. Otherwise, it would not have made such a big explosion. So it probably was a Russian Shahed drone, more than likely. Now, from Tendar, Polish authorities have confirmed that the explosion in the town of Osini originated from a suicide drone. No casualties, but 3 buildings were damaged. Component in the debris suggests that it was a Shahed-type drone built by Russia and Iran. The town is more than 110 kilometers, or 68 miles from the Ukrainian border. So right around 100 to 120 kilometers is where this drone crashed. I mean, look at that. That is way deep into Polish territory. Is this the Russians once again trying to provoke NATO and test their defenses to see if they'll respond to anything like this? So Polish authorities were stating last night that there was no drone incursions coming from Belarus or Ukraine. They did not pick this up on any radars or anything like that. So that is very crazy to think that Poland, being a major military superpower over here in Europe, was not even able to detect this drone coming from most likely Ukraine, as there was a massive attack here on the western side in Ukraine last night, especially down here near the Romanian border in the Odessa region. We'll talk about that. So very crazy to think this drone flew that far into Poland and they were not even able to detect it. Now, Vicegrad 24 breaking after reports of a suspected explosion of a Russian suicide drone in Osini, Poland a few hours ago. Polish prosecutors now confirm that it was a military drone that exploded. Poland is a NATO member state. So these were the authorities on site here checking this area where allegedly this drone may have crashed at. And that's what they're stating again today, that it was a military drone. They're not confirming completely that it was Russia, but in some ways, Poland's Ministry of Defense is claiming that it was Russia. It's kind of like a back and forth thing, honestly, but mainstream news not completely confirming this. I'm seeing a lot of reports today on mainstream news just stating that it's an unidentified drone or a military drone, just some sort of drone crashed over here, but we're waiting for official confirmation on that. But again, I think most of us understand this is most likely coming from Russia, as Ukraine was clearly attacked last night as well. Now, Vicegrad 24 breaking. Polish military helicopters are flying over the village of Osini after it was struck by what prosecutors say was a military drone. 3 buildings were damaged by the explosion. Here's video footage of a Polish helicopter, military helicopter, examining the area of the site of this drone crash. Take a look. So as we can see, a pretty serious search here with the Polish military combined with the local police in the area searching this cornfield, and that's allegedly where it had crashed and it burned a large area after the drone had exploded. So they are taking very serious measures here, trying to figure out what happened here, and clearly it was some sort of drone. Now, Max 25, Polish Foreign Ministry spokesperson says the object that fell in Poland was a Russian version of the Shahed drone. So yes, we did have a statement from the foreign ministry. So they are stating today that this was a Russian version of the Shahed drone. So it could have been like the Garan type drones that Russia's producing, which are very similar to Shaheds. But this is the only picture coming out today. It's literally just like what it looks like, an engine. Okay, we're not seeing any like metal fragments from the drones or anything like that. So I guess until we actually see a picture of this drone, I mean, if it was a Shahed, there's going to be debris from that. Those things are absolutely massive. And usually inside of Ukraine, we're able to see those whenever they explode as well. So unfortunately, this is the only photo coming out today showing what appears to be potentially this engine attached to the back of a Shahed drone. Now from TRT World Now, Poland's defense minister, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, blames Russia for crash and explosion of drone in farmland in the east of the country overnight. Yeah, a few news outlets were picking up this story as well, stating that it was Russia that carried out this attack into Poland, that this was a drone coming from Russian territory, okay, that it flew through Ukraine most likely, could have come from Belarus as well, and crashed inside of Poland today. So that's what the defense minister, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, was stating today. He's blaming Russia for this event. Now we've got a statement here from the Ministry of Defense out of Poland. It says, Deputy Prime Minister W. Kosiniak-Kamysz, that's Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, says Russia is once again provoking NATO countries following drone incidents that took place in Romania, Lithuania, and Latvia, as well as airspace violations that have occurred in almost all NATO countries, particularly in Scandinavia, the Baltic states, and also in Poland. Romania and Bulgaria once again are dealing with a provocation by the Russian Federation using a Russian drone. This is happening at a particular moment when discussions about peace are ongoing, when there is hope for ending the war that Russia declared on the Ukrainian state, which simultaneously threatens the security of NATO countries. Okay, so huge statement from the Deputy Prime Minister here, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz. Okay, so also coming out and stating that, Russia's playing a dangerous game here with these drones going into NATO territory repeatedly. We've had them into Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, now Poland. Poland has seen airspace violations in the past as well. And now this drone crashing in their territory. I mean, very dangerous situation here. Thankfully, nobody was injured in this attack overnight, but clearly we did have a drone crashing in Polish territory. Now from Geo Insider, just in, Polish media reveal why authorities failed to detect the Osini drone. Current radar systems cannot track low-altitude objects like drones flying 50 to 100 meters above ground. Full detection capability won't arrive until at least 2027 with the Barbara Aerostat radar system, leaving Poland largely blind to such incursions. So isn't that crazy? We heard a report, actually, I forgot who it was that stated this. Could have been like a top NATO leader or maybe a military officer inside of Ukraine that was stating that that pretty much NATO would not have the ability to defend themselves from Russian attacks. If, let's say, a bunch of drones started attacking the Baltic nations, for example, they would not have the capability to defend themselves. Clearly, we're seeing that even here with Poland. If Poland cannot even detect one simple drone coming into their territory. Imagine if there were to be a large swarm of drones entering into NATO territory. Definitely a very dangerous situation, and Poland clearly does not have the ability to track and detect these drones flying into their nation. Now, look at this from Geo Insider. Just in, Sweden's commander in chief, Michael Claesen, warns Russia may test NATO not with a major offensive, but via land grabs or hybrid tactics to exploit weaknesses. He says Moscow constantly probes for gaps in political and military systems, and Europe must prepare for worst case scenarios. So, isn't that interesting? The same time we have this drone crashing in Poland, this is what Sweden's commander in chief says, Michael Claesen, that Russia's pretty much carrying out more hybrid attacks onto NATO and testing their weaknesses, exploiting weaknesses and whatnot, testing hybrid tactics. We've been seeing a lot of that. And at the same time, now we've got this drone crashing in Poland. So I'm not sure if he made this statement after that had happened or if he made it prior. But if he did, the timing on that is very interesting. Him coming out and stating that while we have this attack taking place in Poland today. So now let's move on to some strikes inside of Russia. We had a massive UAV attack last night. This is a map from Drone Bomber from Max 25. And look at the amount of drones going into Russia last night. When I saw this map popping up yesterday evening, I was like, wow, we're going to see a lot of attacks inside of Russia. I mean, there's even a lot of rocket drones that were being used. These blue arrows actually indicate rocket drones entering down to the southwestern side of Russia down here, even a few up through Bryansk. Looks like even some naval drones, some Sea Baby drones were being used down here near Crimea. So massive attack on Russia last night, but actually, not sure if it's because of this whole Poland story, but there's not a whole lot of reports on attacks inside of Russia overnight. I tried my best to research it, couldn't find a whole lot of information, but we did have a few things we can share with you. Here's one from Max 25. Novoskol, Belgorod region, fire after UAV strike. So this area of Belgorod region, just up northeast of Ukraine, just over the border from Ukraine's Kharkiv region, there was massive UAV attacks going on earlier this morning. I'm not sure exactly what was being targeted, but lots of residents in the Belgorod region were recording many different drones flying over that area. And it looks like one had crashed over here, possibly hit a target. Not sure exactly what it hit, but you can see a major fire that broke out right here from a Ukrainian drone. Now for Max 25, HIMARS strike on Russians. So this was a massive hit right here. We're not able to detect or find out here exactly where this took place. Was it inside of Ukrainian territory or was it inside of Russian territory? We don't really know yet. I've seen multiple people posting this video, but so far no one's able to geolocate where exactly this was at. But allegedly this was a HIMARS strike from Ukraine. So I'm thinking maybe this was probably in occupied Ukraine, maybe on the east side of Luhansk or Donetsk regions. Could also possibly be inside of Russian territory, maybe up in the Kursk region or something. So if I get information on that, I'll let you guys know. But a massive hit there and lots of burning. Probably some sort of deployment center that was hit from the Russians. Now Anton Gerashenko, another Russian attack on Ukraine and terror against civilians. In Oktia Orturka, sorry guys, that one's hard to say, Sumy region, 14 people were injured as a result of a Russian drone strike, including children aged 5 months, 4 and 6 years. In Kostiantynivka, Donetsk region, a KAB, which is guided aerial bomb airstrike, destroyed 5 apartment buildings. At least 3 people remain trapped under the rubble. In Odessa region, Russian forces attacked a gas distribution station. Russia also attacked Cherniv, Kharkiv, and Poltava regions. All of this demonstrative strikes only confirms the need to increase pressure on Moscow, the need to impose new sanctions and tariffs until diplomacy begins to work fully, President Zelensky said. So does this look like actions from a president in Russia that wants to end this war in Ukraine? This does not look like that to me. This was probably the gas facilities being attacked in the Odessa region. We've got video footage coming out from there today. Here's more homes that were destroyed by Russian Shahed drones and missile attacks. I think we did have missiles heading into Ukraine. I think there were somewhere close to 100 drones in total that the Russians fired onto Ukraine overnight. You can see lots of critical infrastructure here just being destroyed once again inside of Ukraine. These were just some pictures that were being shared by Volodymyr Zelensky today. So yeah, some major regions. We'll talk about Odessa region, but Kostiantynivka hit by guided aerial bombs, and then the Sumy region being attacked by drones again today as well. That's up in northeastern Ukraine. Now, war translated, the aftermath of Russia's overnight attack in the southern Odessa region in Ismail. A large fire broke out at a fuel and port infrastructure facility as a result of the strikes. At least one person has been reported injured. So this is like right near the border of Romania. I've got another video to show you in a minute as well. We had a gas facility being attacked down here. We've been seeing the Russians doing a lot of that, striking actually companies that are connected to Azerbaijan, the Sokar company, which owns a lot of different oil and gas facilities in the Odessa region. They've been attacked a lot. Here's video footage of another attack on an oil terminal. Take a look. So we've really been able to see over the last week or so the Russians really trying to destroy a lot of oil and gas facilities located in the Odessa region. This is in southwestern Ukraine, close to the border of Romania, near the city of Ismail. We've talked about this before. And interesting because usually when this area comes under attack, like near the Romanian border, we usually actually hear drones entering into Romania. We've seen that happen before. But this time, these drones actually flew all the way to Poland, which is much further away from this area than you think. Now, from Jay in Kiev, Trump's coddling of Putin is producing the exact effect we expected. Last night, expanding strikes right on the Romanian border and 100 kilometers into Poland. Western fear is always Putin's most reliable ally. So here's video footage coming out today. I'll let this roll. And this was most likely that gas facility that got hit. You can see lots of fire coming from there. And just over the border from the Danube River, this is probably somebody in Romania filming this, just right over the border in Ukraine. And this is where these drones were landing. So isn't that crazy that just right next to the Romanian border, we have a lot of strikes being carried out. And Romania is a NATO member that has been attacked by drones in the past. So we can see a massive fire there from this gas facility that was attacked here in the Odessa region. Now, Max 25, Europe believes Trump's peace talks will fail, but is supporting them in every way to show the Kremlin dictator's true intentions, according to Politico. Europe is considering two plans, a basic one and an optimistic one. According to the basic one, the talks will fail and Europe will demand that Trump impose strong sanctions against Russia for its position. The optimistic plan is that the talks will yield results and, in particular, reliable security guarantees for Ukraine. So it looks like Europe is preparing for like a plan A and a plan B. I mean, they believe that the talks are going to fail. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think they're going to as well. I personally don't see Vladimir Putin wanting to end this war. He wants to continue this war until Ukraine is destroyed. Regardless of what happens to their economy, regardless of what happens to anything, he wants to continue the fighting inside of Ukraine. And it seems like he's very serious about that. So I don't see this war ending, but could it end? I could be wrong. Maybe it will come to an end, and I hope it does. And if it does, hopefully it comes to an end safely and fairly for Ukraine. But you can see here they're preparing for multiple different outcomes. But at the end of the day, if this war does come to an end, they want to make sure they have good security guarantees for Ukraine. Now from Bandera Fella, AFU liberated Kucherov Yar. This is in the Donetsk region in the Dobropilya direction. So we talked about this several times over the last week. This is that area in the Donetsk region the Russians were able to make a breakthrough. There was actually two wedges that were formed. There was one here and another one here. And what we heard just a few days ago, that in the middle of it, it was completely cut off, and there was two batches of Russian troops here that were surrounded. It looks like they were able to liberate this area right here, and now there's just a small section. Kucherov Yar just a couple days ago was under Russian control, and it looks like Ukraine is completely cutting them off, surrounding these troops and destroying them, and they have essentially stopped this Russian advance in the Donetsk region. And this is the 1st Corps National Guard that has been deployed over to this area. There's like 5 brigades part of this corps. And so far, they've been doing a really good job of stopping the Russians over here. So there's just another update for you. This Russian advance has been halted. Now, Military News UA, photo from Dnipro Ozent showing the location of the sunken Russian ship Port Olya 4, which was attacked by kamikaze drones. Rescue operations are currently underway using cranes and tugboats. So if you guys remember this, we reported this story. I think it was like late last week, I believe. Could have been early this week, not too long ago, no more than a week ago, that we had a Russian cargo ship that came under attack near the Caspian Sea at the port of Olya. And the name of this ship was the Port Olya 4, and allegedly was carrying Russian Shahid components and ammunition coming from Iran. And this is allegedly a port that does bring in a lot of equipment coming from Iran that the Russians use to create Shahid drones and other equipment to attack Ukraine with. This ship was hit directly by at least one drone. It started to sink. You can see there it's pretty much, for the most part, submerged in the water, and the Russian authorities are trying to retrieve this ship and get it pulled out of the water there near this port. So definitely did start to sink there. There's a new update for you. Now, Noel reports European leaders are preparing new sanctions if Putin refuses to meet with Zelensky and Trump, per the Telegraph. Kiev warns U.S. and Russia won't impose terms the Ukrainian people won't accept. Here's a report today: Europe to impose fresh sanctions on Russia if Putin refuses trilateral meeting. Yeah, lots of talk about that today as well in the mainstream news, that yeah, there's a big possibility Putin's not going to be meeting with Zelensky at all. That even though what we were hearing yesterday from the White House, even Caroline Leavitt confirming that Trump was able to set up this meeting between Putin and Zelensky, the leader of Russia and the leader of Ukraine. And allegedly, Putin did agree to meeting with Zelensky, but now we're seeing a lot of reports today that he's probably not going to meet with him. So who really knows? We'll wait a few more days to see if they're actually going to meet. But the soonest that we're hearing is in the next few weeks. So could that be, a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month? I don't really know yet. But this was a report coming out today. Now, from Visioner, Romania will join strong security guarantees for Ukraine. Peace in Ukraine is important for Romania and for our common neighbor, the Republic of Moldova, says Nikusar Dan. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, president of Romania. So Romania coming out today and saying they're going to join in with security guarantees for Ukraine. So that's huge. Also, yesterday, Japan did the same thing. They came out and announced that they will be joining in with security guarantees for Ukraine. So lots of European members stepping up. We also got Japan doing the same thing. So awesome to see. Lots of major countries are willing to give security guarantees over for Ukraine. Now, Max 25, Lavrov, who's the foreign minister out of Russia, that's Sergei Lavrov, says Russia agrees that Ukraine's security guarantees should be ensured on an equal basis with the participation of countries such as China, the US, UK, and France. I thought that was interesting that Russia's actually open to that, but if you notice, they actually mentioned China here. They think that China should be giving Ukraine security guarantees. We've been talking a lot about guarantees for Ukraine recently. We know the U.S. is on board with that. UK and France will probably provide some sort of security guarantees, possibly even troops on the ground. The U.S. was talking about providing air support yesterday as well. China's going to be the wild card, though. Let's see what happens with that. Now, for more translated, seriously discussing security guarantees without Russia is a road to nowhere, said Lavrov, the foreign minister of the Russian Federation, the very country that attacked its neighboring sovereign state. Okay, so take a look at this, about 14 seconds.
Что на Западе, прежде всего в Соединенных Штатах, прекрасно понимают, что всерьез обсуждать вопросы обеспечения безопасности без Российской Федерации – это утопия, это путь в никуда. Что на Западе.
All right, so pretty insane statement, right? Sergei Lavrov coming out and saying that Russia needs to be involved in the security guarantees negotiations for Ukraine. Now, this is I remind you, this is the country that attacked Ukraine. Okay, so why would Russia be involved in security guarantees for the Ukrainians? That's very interesting that he stated that today, but that actually was a legitimate statement from Sergei Lavrov today. Here's another one from Max 25. Lavrov says Russia has proposed raising the level of heads of delegations at negotiations with Ukraine. P.S. No meeting between Putin and Zelensky is planned. Trump was deceived again. Okay, this was another statement from Lavrov today. He says that Russia proposes raising the level of heads of delegations at negotiations with Ukraine. So what that means is that maybe they might send a higher tier delegation to meet with Ukraine. Says nothing about Putin meeting, okay? If this was just Putin, he would say Putin. But he did not mention anything about Putin today. He just said they would raise the level of head of delegations, meaning they'd bring a higher, level of somebody out of the Kremlin, for example, instead of, let's say, Vladimir Medinsky, who led the talks at at Istanbul in Turkey just a few weeks back, right? They might bring somebody higher up from him instead of him to head the delegation for the Russia side. So no talk about Putin actually meeting with Zelensky. So it seems to me there's most likely not going to be a meeting. Now, for military news UA, Putin is not ready to meet with Zelensky either now or in the future, according to CNN today. And it says for a new round of negotiations in Istanbul, the Kremlin may send, for example, Lavrov or Ushakov. What do you think? Will there be a meeting? Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think there's going to be a meeting? CNN reporting today that they don't believe that Putin's going to be meeting with Zelensky at all, like, period. Okay, and again, my position, and this is just me personally, I think that Vladimir Putin does not want to meet with Zelensky because he wants to continue the war. If he meets with Zelensky, that means he's going to have to, really negotiate some serious things with Ukraine. And that's why I think that Putin has been kind of hiding and staying away from meeting with Zelensky. But he's also come out and called Zelensky an illegitimate president in Ukraine. That's why he doesn't want to negotiate with him. So that can make Putin look very bad on the Russian side of things as well. So yeah, CNN reporting today that most likely they're not going to be meeting at all now or in the future. Now, Max 25, we will sell weapons to Europeans who then give them to Ukrainians, and President Trump puts a 10% markup on these weapons, according to Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary. So maybe these 10% will cover the cost of air cover, is what he said. So this could be interesting, and maybe that's why they're doing this. We know that the U.S. is selling weapons to Europe. European nations then hand those weapons over to Ukraine. There's been multiple nations that have purchased weapons from the U.S. already. I think Norway or Netherlands. Denmark, I think, could have also done that, and Germany's been doing that as well. So he's stating here that 10% could possibly cover air cover inside of Ukraine, and that's what we heard yesterday, that the U.S. was possibly open to providing air support inside of Ukraine if we happen to get a ceasefire and an end to this war, to provide security guarantees for Ukraine. They would have, the U.S. Air Force monitoring the skies of Ukraine, so that could be very interesting. And they may use the 10% markup on these weapons being sold to Ukraine from European nations to possibly pay for that. So very interesting. Now, from Kiev Post, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Budapest is not the best choice for a meeting between Zelensky and Putin. Earlier, Politico reported that Washington is considering the Hungarian capital as a summit venue. It was in Budapest in 1994 that the Budapest Memorandum was signed, under which Ukraine surrendered its nuclear arsenal in exchange for security assurances. Here's Donald Tusk today on X, the Prime Minister of Poland. He says, Budapest, ? Not everyone may remember this, but in 1994, Ukraine already got assurances of territorial integrity from the U.S., Russia, and the UK, and Budapest. Maybe I'm superstitious, but this time I would try to find another place. So yeah, Donald Tusk coming out and, referring back to the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, where Ukraine gave up nuclear weapons that they were holding, handed them over to Russia, and if in return they were supposed to get security guarantees from the U.S., the U.K., even Russia themselves. And how did that turn out? Okay, clearly those security guarantees were not legitimate, and Ukraine did not get the support they needed whenever Russia attacked them. And Russia also agreed to that memorandum not to attack Ukraine as well, and yet they did multiple times already over the last decade, right? So so this is something that Donald Tusk was stating here today, that he thinks that that's not a good place, as what was being reported yesterday from Politico is that one of the major staging grounds here for the negotiations could be in Hungary here coming up very soon. And it's very interesting they want to do that, as yesterday there were some reports as well that Trump called the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban and asked him if he'd be willing to lift his ban on Ukraine joining the EU. So maybe that could be a reason why they want to host this whole negotiations thing over here in Budapest. Now for Tracy SBU Fella. It says a ballistic missile and 62 enemy drones have been shot down and suppressed on the night of August 20th from 1930 hours on August 19th. The enemy attacked with 2 Iskander-M ballistic missiles from the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea, as well as 93 strike drones. So 93 drones going into Ukraine overnight, 62 of these being shot down. And we had 2 missiles coming from Crimea. These were Iskander-M ballistic missiles fired from Crimea. It looks like maybe one of those could have been shot down as well. So yeah, major strikes inside of Ukraine overnight, and we're starting to see these drone numbers really start to pick back up. Now, from Kiev Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of August 20th, according to the armed forces of Ukraine. In our final update, Russia's losses as of August 20th: 920 troops, 4 AFVs, 142 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 50 artillery systems, 260 UAVs, and 7 cruise missiles. Okay, so about average numbers, we got a few numbers here up a little bit. Artillery systems a little bit higher than normal, 50 today, usually 20 to 30 on average. Tanks and AFVs very low, 1 and 4 here. Vehicles and fuel tanks up quite a bit as well. We've been seeing these numbers creeping up closer to 150 on average. As for a long time, for like 75 to 100 is what we were seeing. So these numbers are starting to jump up now. And then troop numbers still about the same. We usually see about 900 to 1,000. So about average numbers for the most part across the board here today. And I want to thank all of you so much for tuning in for this update. I'll have more news for you guys later today, and I want to thank you very much for being here. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section, but that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.